We're a little short of a quorum, but we're going to get started with some of the preliminary activities. At this point, I'll invite John Hickey, the chair of the Westwood Select Board, to come up and do the recognitions and the award presentation. Not yet. Can you turn on the front microphone, please?
Good evening, Westwood. It's great to see you all. In this ensuing few moments, please text your friends and neighbors. Last year, we had a hot, sunny day and about over 2,000 people, and life has somewhat returned to normal, and our nerves about a quorum have returned. I think we'll get there. As part of our annual town meeting, the Select Board often acknowledges those residents who have retired from service from the town after many years. This year's group is a really distinguished group who provided decades of service to our town, and I want to make sure that we appropriately recognize them this evening. If you are here when I call your name, I'd ask that you stand. I have not seen him, but is James Galvin here? Not seeing him. Okay, Mr. Galvin and I served together on the Dedham-Westwood Board of Commissioners. Mr. Galvin, however, served for 23 years, from 1997 to 2020. He served as chair 4 times during his tenure. Mr. Galvin took a lead role on the Dedham-Westwood Water District, overseeing the finances and the reconstruction of the Bridge Street Water Treatment Facility within the past few years. We thank him for his service. Mr. Robert Shea, are you here? Not seeing Mr. Robert Shea. Okay. Mr. Shea served as a member of the Personnel Board for 26 years, serving as chair and vice chairman numerous times during his tenure. And lastly, for appointees is Fred Steves, who I thought I saw. No, okay. Mr. Steves served as a member of the Audit Committee from its inception in 2013 to 2021. I'd also like to recognize several retiring elected officials this year. First is Deborah Conant, who served on the Planning Board from 2018 to 2021. Maureen Blade, who I believe is here. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Thank you, Maureen. Maureen served as a member of the Board of Assessors from 2012 to 2021, serving as chair in 2015 and 2018. Maureen was also an integral member of the Long Range Financial Planning Committee and helped us through many challenges. And we appreciate your service, Maureen. We will be calling on you again, even though you say you're retiring. And lastly, I'd ask at this time if Ms. Nancy Hyde, Mr. Michael Walsh, Ms. Pam Dukeman, and Mr. Christopher Coleman would join me. I see Congressman Lynch. If you want to join us. I fail to recognize. Our Congressman Stephen Lynch is here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. So Nancy, we wanted to ensure at the start of town meeting, your last as a member of the Select Board, that we appropriately recognize you for your service from 2003 to 2021, serving as chair in 2005, 2008, 2011, 2014, 2017, and 2020. We appreciate all the work you have done, especially around economic development and infrastructure improvements. We wish you the best on the Board of Assessors, and you can be sure we will be calling on you for help again. Thank you for all of your service, Nancy. I'm not the choreographer.
All right.
Can't tell the Congressman what to do.
Yeah, I gotta wait for Doug.
I know, where's Doug with the big camera?
There he is. A real camera.
Thank you all.
Thank you, John.
Congressman Lynch, you want to stay with me for the next award? Okay. At this time, I'd call upon John Cronin. Also, as part of town meeting, we use this time to recognize Westwood's highest honor to an individual who has served with distinction and remarkable service. And this year, along with Congressman Lynch and John Cronin, I'm pleased to announce that we have awarded this distinguished award to Barb Delisle. So Barb, I'd ask that you join us. Thank you, Barb. Barb was first elected to serve as a member of the school committee in 2001 and served until 2010. She was appointed chair in 2004 and 2009. Prior to serving on the school committee, Barb served on the site council for the Deerfield School and the Thurston Middle School. She also served on Westwood's Educational Foundation Board of Directors. During her tenure on the school committee, the town completed renovations at the Martha Jones Elementary School, the Downey Elementary School, as well as the construction of a new high school. That wasn't too much, Barb, right? No. Barb served as the school committee representative to the Permanent Building Committee during the construction of the high school. Throughout 2003 and 2004, due to a decrease in state funding, the school committee experienced tight fiscal constraints. Barb and the school committee worked diligently to maintain the same standards of excellence for our students. As a school committee member, Barb was instrumental as the district continued its efforts to provide efficient and cost-effective services to students. As an alternative to out-of-district programs for students with special needs, programs were created at the middle and high school. In 2008, Barb was involved in the annual town meeting approval for modular classroom addition and cafeteria expansion at the Thurston Middle School. When Barb retired from the school committee, she was appointed to serve as a member of the Finance and Warrant Commission in 2013, and she served there until 2020. During her tenure on the Finance and Warrant Commission, Barb was an active member of the University Station Subcommittee and the Education Subcommittee. As chair in 2020, Barb showed great leadership as she guided the committee through unprecedented times due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Restrictions on public gathering sizes in place, Barb guided the Finance and Warrant Commission through the use of remote access meetings to openly deliberate the annual operating and capital budgets. Barb was an active member of the Roy London Humanitarian Award Committee from its inception in 2010 and is a Roy London Humanitarian Award recipient. The Roy London Award was presented annually from 2010 to 2019 to citizens of Westwood who demonstrate charitable action, and the award was presented to approximately 40 residents and organizations. On behalf of the John J. Cronin Public Service Award Committee, it is with great pleasure that we present this prestigious award to Barb Delisle and add her name to the plaque displayed in Town Hall listing all previously honored individuals. Thank you, Barb, for all that you've done.
Thank you very much to John and the entire Cronin family and the awards committee for considering me worthy of this prestigious honor. Your father provided me with very kind words of encouragement as well as useful advice when I first started on the school committee, and for that I was grateful, as I really looked up to John as an icon of the town. John, along with all previous award winners, have provided incredible examples of selflessness and dedication to Westwood. I believe that example of volunteering starts at home, as John can probably agree. My parents were role models to me as they were long-serving, dedicated volunteers in town government in my hometown. Volunteering in town government has afforded me the opportunity to work with truly wonderful town employees, so many of I see here today, but also many residents with a multitude of skills, experiences, and points of view. It is what makes Westwood a great place to live. I want to use this platform to encourage all to find some way to volunteer, whatever way you can, and help continue make Westwood great. Get involved and make a difference. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
I like having my mask off.
So,
That's big.
yes, we have a citation for you, and then Congressman Lynch. Why don't you go first so you can get rid of those gifts?
That looks like a long one.
We're not going to read it all, I promise.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, John, for your kindness, and I appreciate the courtesy being extended during town meeting. Barb, I just want you to know that I have enormous respect for town government officials. While sometimes we get all the credit in Washington, D.C., and we visit occasionally, it's people like you that do the hard work each and every day to keep the town running. And the town of Westwood is so well-run from top to bottom. It is really an honor for me to represent you in Congress. I have a couple of gifts here. This is just a memento of our affection and appreciation for your wonderful service to the town and on the warrant committee. And this is an Afghan that I actually knitted myself. So from now on, when they say those members of Congress don't do anything, you say, oh yes, my congressman knitted me an Afghan. So I'd like you to have that. And I also have a special certificate of congressional recognition presented to Barbara Delisle in recognition of your dedication and service to the town of Westwood. And I also want to say congratulations on receiving the John Cronin Award. I am well aware of the high esteem in which John Cronin was held by the town of Westwood because of his 30 years as a treasurer here. He was an example to us all. And you know you've lived a good life when your example continues beyond your own service. So we really appreciate John Cronin as well. I have 2 more town meetings that I have to attend. Those are remote. They aren't as brave as you are. But I do want to say that we've had a little bit of progress down in D.C. As you know, we did the CARES Act, which provided about $1.23 million to the town of Westwood. That was mostly for pandemic-related needs. Thank you. And we were able to fund some of the more pandemic and health-intensive functions of the town, including providing grants for police and fire and schools as well. And then most recently, we passed the American Rescue Plan Act, which will provide $1,620,000 also to the town of Westwood. I know the money will be well spent, and it is really meant, unlike the previous funding in the CARES Act, this is really to try to help us get back to business, right? There are grants as well, apart from that, for local businesses. The restaurant relief program starts today, so if there are any, it's a program set up specifically to help with small businesses. So any small business in Westwood, if you're not familiar with the program, it's run by the Small Business Association, but we can help guide you through that in my office if there are any questions at all in that regard. It's an enormous honor for me to represent the town of Westwood in Washington, D.C. God bless the town of Westwood, and God bless these United States of America. Thank you.
Michael and Nancy, why don't you come up? Thanks a lot. This was great. All right, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you. John, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome, John, thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I can announce we have a quorum, so I can officially call this meeting to order. It's 5:06. At this point, I would invite Liam Hayes and Daniel Wasserman of Troop 3 to come up to the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Over here, Liam. Dan, are there any other Boy Scouts here that I've missed? Okay. Boys, step right up to the microphone. I'd like you to be nice and loud so we can all hear you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, boys. At this point, our great town clerk is going to come up and swear in the newly elected officials. I just want to say it's been a very difficult year for all of the town employees, particularly for the clerk's office, with COVID, two town elections, a national election, a preliminary election, all had to be done remotely. She's done a terrific job. I don't think she gets enough credit.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening, and congratulations to all who were elected to town offices at the annual town election held on Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. At this time, I would like our newly elected officials to stand when your name is called to be recognized and given the oath of office. The office of assessor will be given a separate oath as required by Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 29. If I can have Nancy Hyde, please stand. We're going to do Nancy first. Could you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Nancy C. Hyde, having been elected to assess taxes and estimate the value of property for the purpose of taxation for the town of Westwood until the dissolution of the 2024 annual town meeting, do swear that I will truly and impartially, according to the best skill and judgment, assess and apportion all such taxes as I may during that time assesses, that I will neither overvalue nor undervalue any property subject to taxation, and that I will faithfully perform all the duties of said office. Thank you, Nancy. And you can still stay standing. I will now call the remaining elected officials to stand for their oath of office. If you're here, please, Eric K. Alden, Office of Housing Authority. Eric here. Mary Maisie Phelps, Office of Library Trustee. Maria Ryan, Officer of Library Trustee. Sorry, Maria. James M. O'Sullivan, behind me, Office of Town Moderator. Christopher A. Pfaff, Office of Planning Board. Ellen Larkin Rollins, Office of Planning Board. Catherine Wynn, Office of Planning Board. Maya Plotkin, Office of School Committee. Robert R. Gotti, Office of Select Board. Diane E. Hayes, Office of Sewer Commission. And James J. Gavin, Office of Town Treasurer. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully, according to the best of my knowledge and ability, perform the duties of the office in which I was elected to, in accordance with the bylaws of the town of Westwood and the laws of the Commonwealth. And before you leave this evening, if you haven't already, if you can come up and sign your certificate of oath slip. And thank you for your time and commitment to the Westwood community. Let's give them all a round of applause and recognize that this was not a typical election year. You worked hard despite the challenges faced. Thank you very much.
I think now we have Ron Rinaldi to come up and explain to us how to use the voting devices.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Ron Rinaldi. I'm with Turning. I want to thank Dottie Powers and the Westwood administration for their confidence in us and for your confidence to brave this weather. I make light of it because I'm from Phoenix, so I'm used to wearing short sleeves. All articles will be voted initially by a voice vote. Some of them will require a 50% majority. Some of them may require a 2/3 majority as noted. If it is determined that a particular article cannot or it can't be determined if it passed or failed by the voice vote, we will utilize the voting technology and the voting keypads with the orange lanyards that were provided to you when you entered. The voting technology will be very simple. If we use the technology, we will open the voting. We will let you know when the voting is opened. The voting options on all articles are very simple. 1 or A on your keypad will represent a yes vote. 2 or B will represent a no vote. And it should be noted that if you wish to abstain, you simply do not vote, although you, of course, are encouraged to vote. Keep in mind that passage or failure of any articles will be based solely on those votes collected. So abstention simply means you did not vote, and it won't be viewed as a no vote or any other vote. You simply did not vote. During the voting, we will give you warnings as to how much time is left. We'll likely do it when there's about 15 seconds left. The one thing to keep note of is you will only need to press those buttons, either 1 or 2. It will recognize your last entry. So if for some reason on a given article you have a change of heart, if you want to change your vote from yes to no or vice versa, you may do so. When we announce that voting closes, voting will officially stop, and we will tabulate the votes, and they will be verified and confirmed by the administration, and we will provide the results both in a percentage form and in raw numbers. When we conclude tonight, we will ask you to turn your keypads in when you exit. If you exit somewhere other than the tents where you came in and registered, we'll have someone there to collect. That said, I currently have polling open, and I actually have a question for you to vote on right now. And the question is yes or no. Was Westwood once part of Dedham? Press 1 for yes or 2 for no. There's an LCD display in the upper left-hand corner, and it will indicate when your vote has been sent and has been accepted by the technology. Voting is currently taking place. Votes are coming in. I see we currently have over 175 votes already collected. And if you want, we can close the voting if you'd like. $179 votes were cast, and it appears that almost 96% of you said yes. And I think we are good to go. If anyone has questions, yes. The numbers that appear above is the frequency and the channel number when you make your selection. When you make your selection, it will say 1/A or 2/B. Excellent question. That little 2-digit number above where you make your selection is the actual frequency that it is operating on. Because of the number of keypads we had to anticipate for, we have them on multiple frequencies. But the excellent question that is what it is referring to. A CH? I'll take a look for you right now. Yeah, if voting isn't on right, the voting is closed. That happens on passing. Yeah. So go ahead and vote now. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead and vote.
Go ahead and vote. Oh, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else having problems?
Anybody else having trouble with the devices? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jim.
testing is open right now, so voting is open.
Voting is open. Test again.
When you test, if you press buttons when voting is closed, it will be unresponsive. You will get a flashing yellow and red light.
Technology, right?
Yeah, and that is one other thing. If you press something other than 1 or 2, you can get that CH or the red yellow message. Your vote will not be accepted.
Should we have them do it once more?
Yeah, again, voting is open, so.
Okay. So voting is still open.
Yeah, we're doing in test mode now.
We're just going to do one more test before we start. So the voting is open again. 1 yes, 2 no. And everyone, please vote. This is a test.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what it's doing is it's populating when they're all coming in at one time, it's probably, yep. And part of the reason why we're allowing 60 seconds on all the voting is that when they come in at once, sometimes there is a slight delay when the votes are being merged together. So that's why when we say that voting is open, you don't all have to vote immediately. You have plenty of time.
So the question is, everyone who just voted, did you see 1A or 2B? Anybody have problem? We have 2. Can the 2 of you come up, please? Is that Diane? The third one. 4, 5. We have counters if necessary.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Are you okay, Diane? Okay.
You're good. That's okay. Yeah, just as I got close.
We all set?
I know, so we're planning for 1,000.
All right, let's talk briefly about the rules of town meeting. We're being broadcast this evening by Westwood Media Center. Thank you to them for all they've done over the past year. We do have some National Honor Society students in the back who are here to babysit any children who get bored. So if there's anyone here with young children, we've got a nice crop of kids in the back, and you can utilize them. We are going to discuss the articles in the order that they appear in the booklet. The articles will come before town meeting on the motion of the Finance and Warrant Commission. Any amendments to the articles must be done in writing. If you would like to amend any of the articles, please bring your written amendment up ahead of time so that Mr. Ahern and Mr. Fitzgerald can take a look at them as soon as possible. When we discuss an article, the proponent of the article will speak first. Then I will recognize people who wish to speak on the article. We have 4 microphones right down the middle here. They'll be called microphones 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do not speak until I recognize you. Speakers will have a 5-minute time limit. When you do speak, please lower your mask so that people can understand you. And remember, when you speak, you address the moderator. You do not address each other or other people in town meeting. We do have a limitation that people are only allowed to speak twice upon an article and only may speak more than that with the permission of the moderator. I ask that you not make repetitive comments. When you do get up to speak, please state your name and your street address. Avoid personalities, meaning you don't want to talk about personal characteristics of anybody here. Speak directly on the issue that we're voting on and limit it to that. I ask that you be respectful. Please do not criticize or boo or clap or cheer or hiss. People have the right to present their position, and we ask that you respect that. We ask that you not take out your cell phone and videotape anyone who is speaking. I will consider that an act of intimidation, and if necessary, we'll have you removed from the town meeting. The town meeting is being recorded. You'll be able to see it later. When it's time to vote on an article, I will call for a voice vote. I will listen to the vote, and I will announce my interpretation of whether the article passes or fails. You may challenge my interpretation if 7 people stand questioning my interpretation of the vote. Then we will use the electronic devices, and we'll make sure they are working. There is something called motion for consideration that may only be done the same night that the article is addressed, may only be done once, and the motion must be made by someone who voted on the losing side of the vote. A motion for reconsideration requires 2/3 vote before we go on to it again. Madam Clerk, I'd like to announce that we do have a quorum. I'd like to announce that the warrant has been properly posted and served, like that included in the record. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the warrant? Is there a second? All in favor of waiving the reading of the warrant, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Typically, someone would make a motion that we adjourn by 10:45 and extend by 30 minutes in the interpretation of the moderator if I feel we can get it done in time. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? All in favor? All opposed? It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. The last thing I'll say is the town has spent a lot of money renting these chairs, the sound system, the voting devices. We really need to get this town meeting done this evening. If we don't, the forecast is terrible for the rest of the week. It's going to cost us a fortune. So we'd ask that we keep on a tight schedule and get this meeting done. And I do not believe the FinCom recommended indefinite postponement on any of the articles, so I will not give my usual tutorial on indefinite postponement. Mr. Hickey, you prepared to come up?
Hi, everyone, again. I'll be brief so we can start business. I wanted to first thank each of you for attending tonight. Without your attendance, we cannot get the town's business done. And on behalf of my colleagues, Michael Walsh and Nancy Hyde, and our newest member, Rob Gotti, we wanted to just take a moment to recognize all of the work that the officials throughout the town and our employees in all of the departments, our schools, police, fire, DPW, have done this past year for the town. It has been a very complicated and difficult year, and we are fortunate to have such an engaged and dedicated staff that has kept the quality of life in Westwood the way that it is. I will tell you that the budget that we are presenting this evening, we believe is well-balanced, well-rounded. It recognizes all of the various interests of town, of all of us, and our own personal economies and our own concerns about finances and the financial well-being of our families. There was countless hours put into this budget by members of the town's staff in all of the departments, and we're very proud of this budget, and we'd ask for your support. I'm not going to spend much time on the warrant articles. I think it's cold, and we'd like to move on, and we all rely on our subject matter expert, Pam Dukeman, to conduct that. So with that, I will end, and I will turn it over to Pam for presentation. Thank you all again.
Good evening. I'm Pam Dukeman. I'm the Assistant Town Administrator, Finance Director for the town. So each year at town meeting, we do provide you with an update on our finances to help serve as background for the financial articles that you would be voting this evening. So this year, because we are outside, we did pre-record that presentation. We thank Westwood Media for their help in doing that. We hope many of you were able to see that. That presentation is on the Westwood Media website. We also thank them for recording all of our meetings throughout the year. The Select Board, the School Committee, the Finance and Warrant Commission have been working on the budget since last fall. Westwood Media recorded all of those meetings, and they're all available on their website, as well as any of the financial presentations that were used at those meetings are all on the town's website in our budget section. I will also point out in your town meeting warrant book, there's significant financial information on the town. I just want to speak to that book for a second. The Finance and Warrant Commission completes that each year. It's a great document. It's organized that in the beginning, there's the summaries from the Finance and Warrant Commission of their review of the budget and other articles at town meeting. We then have the actual warrant that you will make your way through, all of the articles. And then about midway through the book to the end, it's all financial information. That starts out with a little summary of the budget, then goes through every revenue that the town has, starting with our tax base right through, goes through all of our expenditure information, operating budget, capital budget, our fixed cost, our debt, all of that, and then has our reserves and liabilities. So there's significant information in that book on the town's finances. I'll just mention our real estate taxes are our main source of revenue. 80% of our revenue comes from our tax base. So we have a significant number of pages in that town meeting book that look at the taxes in many different ways and provide a lot of information. So there's information there about how Proposition 2.5 works. A lot of people think Prop 2.5 limits their tax bill to only a 2.5% increase each year. That's just not correct. Prop 2.5 deals with the total taxes the town can collect, but individual bills can vary based on what happens to your home value. So we have several pages that try to explain that, and we have a chart that shows different tax impact for many different home values in town. We also have several pages in that book that talk about University Station, all of the tax revenue that we've gotten for that project, and how have we spent the money that we have received from that development. We have put that money into our school budget, and we have put that money into our public safety departments, specifically adding about 23 new positions in police and fire since that project came online. So what that means is, we would have to, if we didn't have the University Station money, we would have to pull back from those budgets, decrease our school budget, decrease our public safety budgets, or we would have had to go to the town for a general override to fund those services. And we have not had a general override since 2007. And the University Station revenue's been an important part of that. And then finally, in the tax section in that book, we do have several pages on an important program that the town has to help our senior residents in the community with their tax bill. That's called the Aid to the Elderly Fund. That program is designed to help our lower income, long-term senior residents in town, help them pay their tax bill. It's funded through donations and then a town supplement. Since that program began about 20 years ago, we have applied over $900,000 directly to the tax bills of our eligible seniors. In this particular year, FY21, we utilized $95,000 in revenue to about 50 eligible seniors, providing them each an $1,800 payment towards their tax bill. That's about 20 or 25% of their tax bill. So it's a very, very important program for our seniors in the community, and we do thank all of our residents who have donated to that program. Just a quick update on some things that have occurred this past year, and I will go quickly because I know it is chilly. But just a couple of updates. One on COVID and the financial impact of that. So last year at this time was our first meeting outside, our first town meeting. It was really at the start of the COVID impact. There was a lot of discussion about what would that do to the town's finances. So we did have, a lot of change in how services were provided this year for all of our municipal departments and particularly our school department. We had a lot of additional cost. We had impact on our public safety staffing, particularly our fire department and how they provided services. We purchased PPE and other safety equipment. We had a lot of technology costs to set up remote operations, again, particularly for the schools. We had additional facility costs, cleaning, signage, all of that. Our health department had significant impact with doing some of their contact tracing and other programs. We had COVID testing programs, we had COVID vaccination programs, and we had significant changes to our election process, as already mentioned, a lot of work to be done there to make sure those went as smoothly as they did. We were very fortunate to have outside state and federal funding to help cover all of those costs. We did receive $1.23 million from the CARES Act. You heard that directly from the congressman tonight. He was exactly right with what we got. The majority of that money we used for our schools, about $840,000, was applied to the school budget, particularly, again, for their technology needs to set up the whole hybrid school operation. The state also provided the schools with a particular grant of $675,000 to help with the reopening of school last fall. We also had some smaller grants for the schools in about the $20,000 range, and other grants in a similar range for our Board of Health and some of our election costs. We also could apply for FEMA money, federal emergency money. We applied for $500,000 in FEMA money. That was primarily to handle some of the public safety impact for the fire department and some of the purchases for the PPE. So this funding covered all of those additional costs that we had by both our school and municipal departments. We did not need to supplement our budgets with any of town money or our reserve accounts to cover all of those costs. I do just want to quickly mention new money that's coming ahead for the continuation of COVID. And again, the congressman mentioned this directly. The ARPA program, American Rescue Plan Act, is just now rolling out that will provide additional money to help move everyone forward. First, there are many, many programs under that legislation that will help our residents and our businesses, that will not run through the town, but will be very helpful for the community. Just some examples of that. Right now, there's a funeral reimbursement program open. If any family had a family member pass due to COVID, you're eligible to submit for reimbursement up to $9,000. There are other programs to assist veterans. The unemployment's been extended. There's programs to assist with anyone who had difficulty with mortgage or rental due to COVID impact. There's programs for our small businesses. There's programs for restaurants in the community. Others for our seniors, for mental health care and child care. So a whole variety of programs. Again, that money's not going to run through the town, but our departments are going to work hard to make sure we get those programs and the information out to our residents and our businesses so that they can take advantage of those. There will be some direct money coming to Westwood. We are currently slated to receive $1.6 million from the ARPA funding. There's also some money that's been given to Norfolk County that may be redistributed to the individual communities. Westwood may receive about $3.1 million in that funding. This funding is just now coming. We don't have all the rules yet, but as the congressman told you, this funding's different. It's not supposed to work like the CARES or the FEMA where it's providing for PPE purchases or technology. This is more long-term investment money, more of a capital investment type program. We do not have to spend those funds until 2024. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that over the next couple of months as we start to see that program come forward. But again, more long-term investment. We don't have to spend it for a couple of years. When they did finalize that legislation, they made clear we could not spend it on two things. We are not allowed to just apply it to our budgets and reduce taxes, and we are not allowed to use it for any pension fund investment. So they specifically mentioned those two items. The rest of the things will be coming forward, but important money for the town. Just finally on COVID, we did at last year's town meeting, we talked about, well, what would happen to the town's revenue sources during COVID. We reviewed at that time that our town meeting for several years has been very conservative with the town's revenue as you approve budgets each year. So specifically, our town meeting is very conservative when we estimate our new tax growth. We're conservative when we estimate our motor vehicle excise revenue. Our hotel meals tax revenue, which can fluctuate and did fluctuate during this past year with COVID, is specifically put into a separate account, only available to be spent by town meeting once it's in hand. It's not applied to our operating budget. So because of all of that, the conservative nature of our revenue, we did not need to, at last year's town meeting, pull back from any of our core services, our school and municipal departments. Again, this was because of how town meeting has conducted our budgets over the last several years. We also talked about state aid. Last year at this time, we weren't sure what would happen to that during COVID. But last August or September, I believe, the state came out and indicated that they would not be cutting state aid for FY21, our current budget year. So we had no disruption to that revenue source during this year. They also, a couple of months ago, indicated that there's no cuts to state aid for FY22, the budget year that you're voting on at tonight's meeting. So very important. It's not a lot of our budget. State aid is about 6% of our budget, but important revenue to us, and very important that the state came out and had no disruption to that revenue either in the current year or in FY22. So because of our outside funding, our conservative revenue estimates, and then the state not cutting budgets, we did not have to use any of the town's reserve accounts to supplement any of our budgets to get through this year of the COVID impact. Just one other update that occurred this year. Last year at town meeting, we had talked about the town's debt budget and our borrowing, because last year's town meeting did approve a large $4.5 million road bond program. So we had talked about our debt budget. Just to update on that. So this spring, the town did issue some long-term debt. Prior to issuing that debt, the town did go out and get an update to our credit review with Standard & Poor's. This was a really important credit review for us. We had not undergone one since 2016, and that was really back just when University Station was just starting. We also were getting this update during the the COVID situation. So it was an important review for us. The credit review is a really intense, rigorous process. Standard & Poor's looks at all of our financial information. They go through our financial statements. They look at our budget documents. They review our financial policies. They look at, what do we have in our reserve accounts? How do we deal with our OPEB liability? How are we handling the COVID impact? So they go through all of that process and really take a rigorous look. I'm happy to report that at the end of that process, Standard & Poor's did reaffirm the town's AAA rating. The AAA rating is the highest rating that a community can have. It's a really excellent rating for a small town like Westwood. Really, all of our residents should take pride in that rating. It's really a statement of how our residents handle the town's business, both our residents who participate on our various elected boards and our committees, and also our residents who come each year to town meeting and conduct the town's business in such a professional way. We really thank all of our residents for your help in getting that AAA rating. Once we did have our rating completed and had the AAA rating, Town Treasurer Jim Gavin did go out and issue some debt. He issued a $7.7 million long-term bond, and some of the components of that bond were for a 20-year period, and we received a 1.14% interest rate on that bond, so a tremendous rate for borrowing. He also issued a $4.5 million one-year short-term note, and that was primarily for that road improvement bond. And he received on that a 0.24% net interest rate. So really tremendous rates for us to be able to borrow money. I will point out also that included in that $7.7 million long-term bond was not only some debt for some of our new projects, including the Wentworth Hall project currently being constructed. It also included refinancing of two of our current bonds. The Thurston Modular Project was a 20-year bond, and we have 8 years remaining. And then our new library is a 20-year bond with 10 years left. He was able to refinance those two long-term bonds, and for the remaining life of those bonds, we achieved budget savings of $1.12 million, meaning what we were already scheduled to pay out for the next 8 to 10 years on those bonds has now been reduced by $1.12 million, with about $360,000 for the Thurston and $760,000 for the library. The library was a bond that was approved outside the limits of Prop 2.5, an exempt debt bond, meaning that we will now collect $760,000 less from our taxpayers each year over the remaining 10 years, or about $75,000 a year, less in tax than what was already scheduled. So really, we were so pleased to be able to get the low interest rate, not only for the new debt, but for the refinancing of these existing bonds. And again, a big part of that was based on the AAA rating. And I have to, as I look at John Cronin Jr., think that John Cronin Sr. would have been very proud of all of us, all of our residents and all of our officials with the work that was done with that bond sale. So he taught us a lot, and we paid attention to him. So that's an update on what occurred during this past year, and now just a quick look at the budget year ahead that you'll be voting on tonight. The total FY22 budget for all of the financial articles you're voting is a $108 million budget, and that's a 2.5% increase over the current year. As Selectman Hickey said, it really is a comprehensive, well-balanced budget. It addresses all areas of our finances, including our operating budget, our capital budget, our reserve and liability accounts. It's a balanced budget. There are no plugs or one-time revenue used towards that budget. And really, we thank our selectmen and our Finance and Warrant Commission and our town meeting residents for really every year approving very structurally sound budgets. We don't overestimate and overinflate. We have very solid budgets each year. So the budgets are in 13 financial articles tonight. Articles 1 and 2 deal with our current year. They supplement the current year, FY21, that ends on June 30th. Relatively minor amounts in those two articles this year. And as I mentioned, you'll see no supplements there for anything that we needed to cover from the COVID impact. Article 3 is the main operating budget article for the town. This is where we provide the core services to the community, the school and municipal departments, for July 1 through June 30th of next year. That total budget this year is a $101 million budget, just over a $3 million or 3.1% increase from the current year. The majority of that money is going towards our school budget. About $1.6 million of the increase goes to our school budget. The majority of that article is spent on the school and municipal departments, and within those budgets, about 80% of the budgets go towards salaries. So really, how we provide services to the community is through our staffing. Our teachers, our police officers, our firefighters, our DPW employees. So the bulk of our budget is in Article 3, and the bulk of that is in our staffing, providing the services each year to the community. We then have a series of capital budget articles. Article 4, 5, and 7 this year are our standard articles for municipal and school capital. They are at the same level that they've been the last couple of years, and they are our important annual reinvestment to make sure we're maintaining our town buildings and that we're providing safe equipment to our departments. Particularly our public safety departments rely on equipment to provide their services to the community, the fire department, the DPW. Article 8 this year is an additional capital article to do some town-wide recreation projects, specifically $310,000 for some pool repair work and $750,000 to replace the turf field on the multipurpose field in the back there behind the high school parking lot. We have 4 borrowing-related articles this year. Article 6 is a sewer capital borrowing article for $500,000. This is an article to make sure we're continuing to inspect and repair the sewer system. We are able to do this borrowing through a program with the Mass Water Resource Authority, the MWRA. They have a great program to help communities keep their sewer systems up and to date. Through the borrowing with them, 75% of that would be given to us as a grant and 25% as a no-interest rate loan. So we can do a program with them about every 5 years to help us maintain the sewers. Article 12 is a small borrowing authorization for $650,000 for 2 pieces of equipment. A DPW roadside sweeper for $250,000, and for the fire department, a multi-purpose vehicle for $400,000. So those 2 pieces of equipment are a bit larger than what we would normally put into our ongoing municipal capital article, so we would ask for authorization to approve those as a borrowing. And when we issue debt, we would include those in our long-term debt, but we would do a short repayment term of 5 years or less. Article 13 is the borrowing authorization for the Hanlon-Deerfield School Building Project. Authorization to borrow up to $1.46 million. And this is for the School Building Committee to continue with the work they're doing on that project. The main vote on the new school will not occur until the fall, until an October town meeting. But this borrowing will allow them to continue working on that project to be able to bring it forth to the community at that fall town meeting. And then finally, Article 9 is just a miscellaneous housekeeping article for debt. We're actually just closing out a credit line for $450,000. When our new police station borrowing was done, we issued a bond, and we also received $450,000 in bond premium. We've applied that premium to the project. That police station project is completed. We have no further borrowing to do, so we're really now just going in and taking back that $450,000 borrowing, and again, just closing out a credit line. And then finally, we just have 2 articles that address our reserve and liability accounts. Article 10 is our annual appropriation into our stabilization account, or our main reserve account. And Article 11 is an appropriation of $1.4 million into our OPEB liability account. Both of these are at the similar levels that they've been over the last several years, and they allow us to keep up to date on where we need to be with our financial policies, again, for both our reserve accounts and for our OPEB liability. So that completes kind of an update on what's occurred the past year, as well as a look at the warrant articles that you'll be voting tonight. As always, we thank you for your time and attention that you give to our financial matters. And again, we greatly appreciate all of the work that our residents on our boards and coming to town meeting have done to allow the town to be in good shape financially, to get that AAA rating, and really to allow us to continue to provide our core services to the community this year, despite the disruption that we've all had with the COVID impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you for your excellent recorded presentation. We're now ready to proceed on to Article 1. I'm going to read the article. If you would like to speak on it, please come up to one of the microphones. If anyone would like to speak but has some difficulty, mobility difficulty, let us know and we'll get a microphone over to you. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to appropriate by transfer from available funds the sum of $20,000 to supplement fiscal year 2021 appropriations as listed in the article or take any other action thereon. This article comes on the motion of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Is there any discussion on Article 1? Ms. Heidi? Okay. Hearing no discussion, all in favor of Article 1, please say aye. All opposed? It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to appropriate by transfer from available funds the sum of $217,500 to supplement fiscal year 2021 appropriations as set forth in the article or take any other action thereon. This comes before town meeting on the motion of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 2? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 2, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. We're now going on to Article 3, to see what sums of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds and/or borrow from the operation of the municipal departments and public school system for the fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, as set forth in Appendix D of the Finance and Warrant Commission's report to the 2021 annual town meeting or take any other action thereon. Now, the way we handle this article is I'm going to read each page of Article D, starting with page 51 in your booklet. If anyone would like to discuss any of the line items on that page, please say hold. If someone does say hold, we'll come back to it afterwards. Page 51. Page 52. Page 53. Page 54. Page 55. Page 56. Page 57. Is that the last one? Is there any discussion on Article 3? Mr. Obie and Mr. Iddick. Whoever gets to the microphone first.
Hi, Doug Obie, 435 High Street, Westwood. I've been coming to town meetings forever, and I very seldom find a vote opposed to the general operating budget. And I was hoping to hear from that one vote if he or she is present, to understand why they might have voted against this. The other thing I wanted to mention is at last year's town meeting, several of the meeting members spoke about possibly pausing the increase, the 2.5% increase for a year, especially in that time when the pandemic was kind of new and raging, and all of us were a little apprehensive as to what the economic results were going to be and how many people in town were going to suffer hardship during this past year. And it was explained to those that spoke that can't change it now because the budget's already been worked out prior to COVID hitting, but that was a consideration for the coming year. I'd like to know why that didn't come about.
Good afternoon, fellow citizens of Westwood. I'm Peter Ittig of 108 Bay Colony Drive. I'm also a member of the Finance and Warrant Commission. If you pay property taxes, I suggest that you look at page 74 of the warrant book before you vote on this article. That page shows that the proposed budget is predicated on a 3% increase in the property tax on homes. This follows an increase of 4.4% last year and 3% the year before that. That's page 74 of the warrant book. I voted no as a member of the Finance and Warrant Commission, as I believe that the town should have tried to hold the tax increase for the operating budget to 2.5% or less. I have several reasons for this. One is that many residents have faced severe economic consequences from the epidemic. Another reason is that property taxes are no longer deductible on federal forms for most of us. Also, there's been substantial new revenue in recent years from the University Station development. You may recall that we were led to believe that there would be lower taxes if we approved that development. I'm also concerned that the total tax increase will be much larger than 3%, as it will include another 4.5% or 5% for the school override to be voted at a separate town meeting for a new elementary school at a cost of about $88 million. A total tax increase of about 7.5% or 8% in 1 year is a large tax increase that will be difficult for some taxpayers. I'm particularly concerned about the impact of a large tax increase on our seniors who are uniquely vulnerable to tax increases, as their pensions do not rise as fast as property taxes, so they tend to get pushed out by rising taxes. The town proposed a limited exemption for seniors at the time of the last school override of $36 million for the high school in 2000. The Finance Commission recommended that exemption, and it was approved at the town meeting in May of 2000. That senior exemption was never implemented, as it needed approval from the state legislature, and that approval was not obtained. However, the state legislature did approve optional senior exemptions that are available to all towns, which have since been adopted by neighboring towns, including Wellesley, Dedham, and Needham, but not Westwood. As some of you may know, I am collecting signatures for a warrant article that would have Westwood adopt.
Mr. Riddick, please limit your comments to the article in question.
Okay, some of those exemptions, okay. For now, you should vote yes on Article 3 if you approve an increase of 3% in the property taxes on homes for the operating budget this year, or vote no if you believe that it should be 2.5% or less. Thank you.
I neglected to mention that the vote required on this article is a majority vote. Mr. Lenz, did you wish to speak? This is Peter Lenz, the Chair of the FinCom. Thank you for your job this year. For the last 6 years, Mr. Lenz has decided he's not going to be reappointed, so I just want to personally thank him.
All right, thanks, Jim. Yeah, Peter Lentz, 37 Lanark Drive. I just wanted folks to understand that when we vote on these articles, we've had a tremendous amount of meetings with all the department heads, with Pam as the budget director, with Chris Coleman, and with the select board. So we don't take this responsibility lightly, and there's an incredible amount of research and meetings that we do before we take our vote. When we did this vote, we voted 13-1. If that was a presidential election, that would be a landslide. So we really thought that the town has done a great job in putting that budget together, or at least 13-1 did, putting that budget together, and we did vote for that approval. I just want folks to just realize there's a significant amount of work, and we just don't get something thrown over to us and have to vote for it that night. We spend an incredible amount of time. So thank you, and I encourage you to vote yes for this.
We have two gentlemen at microphone 2. Is that Mr. McEwen?
Yes.
Chris McEwen, 70 Lorraine Road. I simply wanted to comment on at least one portion of Mr. Iddick's statement, because I've heard this at several town meetings, but I was the Westwood Station project manager representing the town for until it started to be constructed from 2007 to 2013. I can assure you that no official, elected, appointed, or otherwise, made any representation, promised, implied, that Westwood Station was going to reduce our taxes. It didn't happen. I'll go so far as to say I'll donate $1,000, and whoever's named can show me differently to the Westwood aid to the elderly. It just didn't happen. The second point, though, in general, is you get what you pay for. And when I look around at the competence of the governments of this town, the elected officials, the staff, police, fire, schools, look at the facility we're in, tell me where to send the check. Thank you.
And we got the gentleman first, and then the woman in mic 1.
Hello, my name is Brian Kamenker. I live at 95 University Avenue. I respect what the previous speaker said about the promises made, but when I talk to people across the town, for whatever reason, they believe that those were the promises that were made, whether they were explicitly or implicitly made. And a lot of people feel very cheated. They feel that there is a bait and switch. There's this enormous amount of money coming from University Station and other office buildings, and the taxes just go up and up and up. And there's a feeling that Westwood wants to be Newton or Wellesley and do a lot of extravagant things on the backs of a lot of people that can't afford it. So I would encourage people to vote against this and have the committee go back and live within their budget. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jamie Allen at 530 Pond Street, and I was actually here last year with a number of other people who appealed to everyone on the basis of COVID and all of the shutdowns. Many people lost their jobs. Many people currently are underemployed, and yes, we were told, well, this budget was made before we knew anything about COVID. So, personally in my home, when we have an emergency, we go back to our home budget and we trim it down. And I was surprised and kind of insulted, to be honest, that I think that we should have a -2.5 or -3, not plus, after this very difficult year. I feel that this lacks compassion and empathy. People are excited about spending money here. I think you can wait a year. Wait till people got their feet on the ground. So I just want to appeal to compassion. Yes, I appreciate the work. It's a lot of work to spend a lot of money. There's a lot of, my husband and I, we moved here 28 years ago. And we did because we wanted a residential town. And regarding University Avenue, he grew up in a town where they promised a huge mall and that everyone's taxes would go down. Well, the value of the homes went down. That I don't think happened here, but the taxes actually went up. So, implied or not, we don't seem to be benefiting as a town from all the businesses that we have. Thank you.
Does anyone else like to discuss Article 3? Okay.
I'm Marla Schwartz. I live at 32 Westwood Glen Road. Every year I come up here, and every year I listen to people saying there's plenty of room in the budget to cut the schools, there's plenty of room in the budget to cut this. I don't see that. I see the budget as being anorexic rather than fat, if I can put it that way. If you're really worried about our seniors and their rent, there's a fund you can donate to help them. And I think it would be nice if some of the people who profess that they worry about our seniors and our disabled people would do that. I don't know if they do. I'd like to know, because I'm just tired of this. I hear these people every year. And every year I ask somebody, where's the fat? And they never specify. They just go, there's plenty of fat. So I'd like to move the question.
Anyone else wish to discuss Article 3? Can you come to the microphone, please? Don't be afraid to yell at me. I've been yelled at before. If I don't see you, let me know.
My name is Thomas Stullig from 126 Downey Street. And my opinion is that the budget doesn't reflect the situation in which we live right now. And I think it shouldn't wait for a couple of years, especially with the upcoming costs we will have with the new building of the elementary schools. And I would ask to vote this electronically. Thank you.
Well, we're going to vote by voice vote first. Any other town meeting member wish to discuss this article? Seeing none, this article is Appendix D, comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote, requires a majority vote. All in favor of Article 3, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a majority vote in favor. It is a majority vote in favor. Article 4 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $1,304,650 for the purchase, lease, or lease purchase of capital equipment improvements as set forth in the article. This article comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote, and it requires a majority vote. Anyone wish to discuss Article 4? Sir?
Lou Rizzoli, 120 Arcadia Road, Westwood, and I am the chairman of the Westwood Housing Authority and president of Westwood Affordable Housing Associates. I will be very brief. I noticed that there was some dissent on the 150,000 to the Housing Authority, and I would just like to say, we have 13 units in the town. Some were donated. They need repair. We're on the 4th out of a 5th year of the capital expenditures. Sorry. Out of the capital expenditures for next year would be the last, hopefully, and then we'll go back to $50,000. We bought 2 houses this year. We are really close to the 10% required for subsidized housing. If we're not there, we won't know probably till the fall. It's my intention to go and speak at the, if they'll let me, the Finance Commission this fall and go over this budget, which is public, in detail. So I urge you to vote in favor of this.
Anyone else wish to discuss Article 4? Okay. All in favor of Article 4, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to me a majority vote in favor. It is a majority vote in favor. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $1,017,000 for the purchase, lease, or lease purchase of capital equipment and improvements as set forth in the article. Comes before us on the motion of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 5? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 5 say aye. All opposed say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 6, to see if the town will appropriate $500,000 to pay costs of engineering and construction services related to the development of plans and specifications for the reduction of infiltration and inflow into the town's wastewater collection system, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and to determine whether this amount shall be raised by taxation, transfer from available funds, borrowing, or otherwise, or to take any other action relative thereon. This article comes before us on the motion of the FinCom that the town so vote. This article requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 6? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 6 say aye. All opposed say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $505,000 for the purchase, lease, or lease purchase of capital equipment, projects, and/or improvements as set forth in the article. Comes before us on the motion of FinCom that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 7? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 7 say aye. All opposed say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $1,060,000 for the purchase, lease, or lease purchase of capital equipment, projects, and/or improvements as set forth in the article. Comes before us on the motion of FinCom that the town so vote. This article requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 8? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 8, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to rescind any authorized but unissued borrowing or authorizations which are no longer necessary to finance the project or projects for which they were initially approved, or to take any action relative thereto. Comes before us on the motion of FinCom that the town so vote. This article requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 9? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 9, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $125,000 for the Stabilization Fund, established in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, or to take any other action thereon. Comes on the motion of FinCom that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 10? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 10, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $1,490,000 to the OPEB Liability Trust Fund, established in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 32B, Section 20, or take any other action thereon. This comes on the motion of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 11? Mr. Washay? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 11, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. You'll have to bear with me on these next two. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money to pay for the cost of purchasing a DPW roadside sweeper truck and a fire multi-purpose vehicle, and to determine whether this appropriation shall be raised by taxation, transfer from available funds, borrowing, or otherwise, or to take any other action relative thereto. Now, it's the motion and the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town appropriate $650,000 to pay for the cost of purchasing a DPW roadside sweeper truck and a fire multi-purpose vehicle, including all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, is authorized to borrow $650,000 under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7(1), or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount, and that the Select Board is authorized to take any other action necessary to carry out this project. This article requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 12? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 12 say aye. All opposed say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 13. Again, I'm going to have to read the article and the recommendation of the FinCom. To see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee to pay costs of design, development, and related activities associated with the construction of a new Paul R. Hanlon Elementary School to be located at 790 Gay Street in Westwood, Massachusetts, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the town may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need, as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town, or to take any other action relative thereto. Now, the Finance and Warrant Commission recommends that the town appropriates the sum of $1,460,000 for the purpose of paying costs of design development and related activities associated with the construction of a new Paul R. Elementary School to be located at 790 Gay Street in Westwood, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, the project, in parentheses, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years, and for which the town may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, in quotes MSBA, said amount to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, is authorized to borrow said amount under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need, as determined by the MSBA. And any project cost the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town. And that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the town and the MSBA. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. This article requires a two-thirds vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 13? Mr. Riddick?
Good. Thank you. I'm Peter Intick of 108 Bay Colony Drive. I'm also a member of the Finance and Warrant Commission. I voted no on this article as a member of the Finance and Warrant Commission, as I believe that this request is premature. It is only needed if the voters will approve the proposed override for the new school in October. The requested $1.5 million approximately will be lost if the full override is not approved at our next town meeting. There is a risk that the override will fail, particularly, I think, if there is no concession for seniors. It would be, in any case, it would be prudent, I believe, to wait to see if the voters will approve the override in October. Thank you.
Ms. Pleckman?
Maya Plotkin, 165 Clapper Tree Street. I am on the school committee and the chair of the school building committee. We are bringing this in after 2.5 years of long work on this project in order to keep this project going. We originally planned to have this vote at this town meeting, but given COVID, we've pushed the full project vote to the fall and are here today asking to front 1.4 million of the total project cost so that our architects, our design team can continue working through the summer. The advantage to this is to keep this project on budget and on schedule. If we do not pass this article, then the project will be delayed by about 6 months and will incur an estimated $700,000 in addition to the total project cost. I'd also like to say that this money will not go to waste, even if the total project isn't approved. We have to do something about these schools. Hanlon and Deerfield are the ones we're talking about now. And with this money, we can walk out in the fall and have a full set of design documents for a fully developed project that we could use as a later date if this project does not move forward in the fall. So it's not a waste of money at this time. We will have work product coming out at the end of this. And I encourage everybody, for the sake of the project and to keep this project as fiscally responsible as we are hoping it will be, to vote yes on this article. Thank you.
Mr. Obie, mic 2.
Doug Obie, 435 High Street. I moved here to Westwood back in 90 or 91 because of the schools. All right, everyone knows, and I think most of the young families that move into town come here, many of them to make sure their children get a good education. My 3 children got a great education in fairly older buildings. I was happy that most of the money back when I was raising my children went to teachers' salaries for the best education that my kids could get. They didn't have air-conditioned rooms. They didn't have the most modern facilities, but they all got great education regardless. I now have 3 grandchildren in town, and I want the best education for them as well. I don't think they need an $88 million elementary school. I don't think that that's necessary for them to get a great education. And I think the tax burden that $88 million will put on all of the Westwood residents is in excess of what many people can afford. I remember years ago trying to work with seniors, trying to find senior housing, because many of them at the time had to sell their homes because the taxes were going up so much, and there was no senior housing, affordable senior housing at the time. And regardless of how hard we tried to find places to put in senior housing, it never came to fruition. So this isn't something I'm creating in my imagination, all right? Taxes do go to a certain point where people that are living on fixed income can't afford to stay in town, a town that they might have lived in all their lives and have come to love and want to stay in. It also puts a huge burden on people that are just living in town, living in homes, and working and having to work twice as hard just to maintain their budgets. All right, our tax budget will go up significantly higher than inflation and the 2.5% cap that we all like to hope we can live within. And this new school will blow the lid off that. And so if in fact we're not going to vote for, or if you here don't want to vote for an $88 million elementary school, just one elementary school in our town, then I would recommend you not vote for this, because what happens is in October, if we vote for this, the argument will be, we've already spent $1.4 million on design. What a waste it would be if we now don't vote for the project itself. Thank you.
Christina Martin, 23 Brookfield Road. For us, our home is the biggest investment that we have. For many people here, I think it's probably the same is true for you. And the reality is that the values of our homes are driven by the quality of the schools. We moved here for the schools. Many people move here for the schools. It's great if you fall in love with the town and want to stay forever. That means we have a lot of things going well in the town, but what drives the value of that investment is the schools. So if we don't maintain our schools, if we don't have safe schools, if we don't have schools that can manage wireless technology, then people are going to stop moving here, because it will impact the quality of the education, because it's not like it was maybe 30 or 40 years ago. What teachers and students need has changed a lot, and the buildings can no longer provide it. So they can no longer be maintained, and they no longer facilitate education in an optimal way. So really, voting in favor of this funding is a vote in favor of your investment in your home, and many people eventually want to sell their homes and use that money to retire, to live more comfortably in something downsized. So it's not like one or the other. This is an investment in yourself and your property. Thank you.
All right, with permission of the moderator, Ms. Parks is going to speak. Oh, Mr. Donahue is going to speak. Ma'am? And Mr. Donahue, if you could lower your mask when you speak.
Thank you. Give me the opportunity. It's Charles Donahue, 407 Gay Street, Westwood, and I'm on the school committee. I'm also on the School Building Authority Committee, and I think we've had hundreds and hundreds of hours of hard work spent the last 2 years beginning to look into these issues. We've looked at all of our schools. We've got probably one of the greatest group of teachers of any town. That's why our school systems are so good. However, our schools, elementary schools, most of them were built in the 1940s and 50s. They're not competitive with all of the towns we compete with for quality of education. So a lot of time has been spent. 100 towns wanted to get support from the state. We're one of 15 towns that was chosen. We were chosen by when they came out and looked at our schools. They said these people need help. Upwards of $18 million is being proposed to help us, not $88 million. So that secondly, when we start to pay for this new school, we'll be ending our payments for the high school. That won't be in our taxes. So as we've plotted all of these opportunities, it isn't a new elementary school. It's 2 elementary schools. They're being converted, Deerfield and Hanlon. A lot has been spent in this new school to have it become a resource for all of Westwood. We're putting in soccer fields and baseball fields, with basketball courts where you can play sideways. All of these are things making it a town resource. It'll be a performing arts area in the cafeteria for those things. So it's not just go spend as much money. These are what schools cost today. All of our competitive school systems for quality of education have schools built in the 80s, 90s, and recently. We're way behind in keeping up with these schools we compete with for quality education. So all we're asking for tonight is to continue our work until the big vote in October, which we believe will be well presented here with the town coming back. But we do need to keep going, keep the momentum going, and just have some minimal resources to keep our architects going, so we do have a final product coming before us. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Schwartz, did you wish to speak? Thank you, Ruby.
Marla Schwartz, 32 Westwood Glen Road in Westwood. It's my understanding that the roof of one of these schools has fallen down, or the ceiling, or part of the structure anyway. And in that case, I certainly think we ought to be building a new school. I'm 75 years old. I'm going to be dead by the time these kids are doctors or plumbers or airplane pilots or whatever. But most of you are still going to be alive. And so what you're doing is investing in your future when you invest in your schools. As I said, it's not going to bother me. I'll be dead by the time these kids graduate from medical school.
Well, let's hope not.
I'm 75, you know. We're talking 15, 20 years. I'm praying I will be dead by then. But gee, you know, this is an investment in the future. Education's always an investment in the future, and the future is always important.
Would anyone else like to address Article 13? Appears we're ready for a vote. This comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote. It requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 13, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Aye. It appears to be a 2/3 vote in favor. It is a 2/3 vote in favor. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or borrow and/or transfer from available funds a sum of money to reconstruct Cranston Avenue, to which the residents of said Cranston Avenue will be responsible for betterment charges, which will raise half the cost to reconstruct Cranston Avenue, and to authorize the Select Board to accept a grant of easement and accept said Cranston Avenue as a public way once reconstructed, or to take any action thereon. Comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote. Requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 14? All in favor of Article 14, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 16, to accept municipal ownership, to see if the town will vote to accept municipal ownership of a portion of the former Westwood Lodge property encompassing the soccer/lacrosse field shown as Lot 8 on the approval not required plan dated September 22, 2019, and endorsed by the Westwood Planning Board on October 1, 2019. Comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote. Requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 15? All in favor of Article 15, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to accept municipal ownership of a portion of the former Westwood Lodge property shown as Lot 1 on the approval not required plan dated April 22, 2019, and endorsed by the Westwood Planning Board on June 11, 2019, and to authorize a long-term lease of said property to LifeWorks, Inc. for the construction and operation of a 5-unit group home for persons with disabilities. It comes before us on the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a majority vote. Would anyone like to address Article 16? All in favor of Article 16, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Now I'd invite David Atkins, Chairman of the Westwood Planning Board, to come up and give the Planning Board report.
Thank you. I'm David Atkins, Chair of the Westwood Planning Board, and in compliance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Planning Board held public hearings on the 6 zoning amendments, Articles 17 through 22, on March 1st, 2021, and again on March 8th, March 16th, March 29th, and on April 6th. On April 6th, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend that town meeting vote to approve Articles 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 as presented in the warrant. And what I'm going to do is briefly summarize the articles here, and then we'll go through the vote, and if there are additional questions on each article, I or the town planner or other people can respond to those, but I'll just give kind of a brief summary of each article here. So Article 17 regulates where medical centers or clinics can go and updates the term Office of Healthcare Professionals in the table of principal uses. Article 18 prohibits hospitals throughout town. Article 19 creates a new special permit process for substance rehabilitation facilities and creates a new overlay district that only allows them on Allied Drive. And there was a handout available when you came in that is a map that shows where this zone would be. And I need to make a correction in the materials that were sent out. There's like a typo or something in the FinCom report. So I just wanted to go over this item. So, and for Article 19, creating a substance rehabilitation facility overlay district, a yes vote will limit the possibility of a substance rehab facility from locating near a residential neighborhood in Westwood. The report said that the town's required to have a substance rehabilitation facility overlay district, but we're not required to have such a district. And based on opinions from legal counsel, I believe the town cannot prohibit a substance rehabilitation facility outright because doing so would be discriminatory against individuals with disabilities. In the absence of specific zoning to define where such a facility is allowed, it could be proposed anywhere in town. If we define it for a specific zone, this would prevent it from being allowed in other zones. The problem that the Planning Board faced, and which was repeated when an advisory group was formed to make recommendations for a suitable zone, is that choosing any zone creates objection and concern from residents who live near that zone and who visualize the worst possible scenarios. The solution the Planning Board has crafted is to design an overlay district that designates a limited number of properties between Route 128 and Allied Drive in Dedham, and which would require joint approval of the Dedham Planning Board because parts of the properties are located in both towns. The Planning Board also provided language in the zoning for specific standards of review to allow the Zoning Board of Appeals to make a reasonable and justifiable decision in granting or denying a permit after taking into account the impact on abutting properties. This is the Planning Board's best effort to address the issue and to limit any negative impact on neighborhoods, and as I said, it's supported unanimously by the Planning Board. And then Article 19 is, Article 20 prohibits the sale of firearms and explosives in the local business A and local business B zoning districts. And Article 21 creates an administrative permit process for uses and structures proposed for less than 6 months. And then Article 22 is a housekeeping articles that makes updates and corrects typos in the wording of the zoning bylaw. So that's the overview, and if there, as we get to each article, if there are additional discussion, comments, we will do our best to answer those questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Atkins. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to approve certain amendments to the Westwood zoning bylaw and official zoning map related to various medical uses as set forth in the article, or take any other action in relation thereto. Comes before us on the motion of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 17? All in favor of Article 17, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to approve certain amendments to the Westwood zoning bylaw and official zoning map related to various medical uses as set forth in the article, or take any other action in relation thereto. Would anyone like to discuss Article 18? All in favor of Article 18, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to approve certain amendments to the Westwood zoning bylaw and official zoning map related to various medical uses as set forth in the article, or take any other action in relation thereto. This comes before us on the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Commission that the town so vote. This article requires a 2/3 vote. And I see someone at microphone 2. Is that Mr. Becker?
Yes. Kevin Becker, 1227 High Street. I just think we can do better on this. This article does acknowledge that substance use disorder is a medical condition. I'm a psychologist, by the way, have been for nearly 30 years. So it does acknowledge that substance use disorder is a medical condition and should be treated as such. So I'm not in support of us setting up treatment facilities, you know, in a corner of our town, all the way out at the edges, banning people to the edge of the boundaries of our town for medical treatment on this kind of condition. I think it sends the wrong message. I think that something like this should include our other medical areas, such as, you know, over where the Brigham is, or, you know, where other professional offices are. 20 million people a year suffer with substance use disorder. About 2 million people a year suffer with the cancer. And I'm not comparing those, but just to give you context in terms of the number of people that are impacted, I think probably most of us know a friend or a colleague or a family member who struggled with some kind of substance use disorder. And personally, I think that this sends the wrong message to them, that treatment should be done in the edges of the community, away from the community. You should be separated, kind of like you've got a virus, and stay over there and get fixed and then come back and join the rest of us. So I don't support it for that reason. We just accepted ownership of property that was formerly Westwood Lodge, a psychiatric facility, a medical facility, and that facility had a substance abuse program for many years, a very successful one, that had really minimal impact on Westwood. So I think we actually can have within our boundaries this kind of medical facility without tremendous negative impacts on the town. So I just think that it's the wrong message to send. I think that we can do better if we go back to the drawing board on this, and I'd like to see us do better.
Ms. McCarthy?
Diane McCarthy, 249 Dover Road. I'm a member of FinCom, and I was the dissenting vote on this warrant article. I want to send my appreciation to the last comments. I support his comments entirely. I've spent most of my professional career working with and trying to provide services for folks who suffer from substance use disorder. I appreciate the work of the Planning Committee, but I believe that the town would benefit from educating ourselves a little bit more, as our last speaker just spoke to, about who these individuals are. Most of us know them, they're our families and friends, but maybe we can also do better. I appreciate his comments.
Any other comments on Article 19? Again, this requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 19, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Appears to be a 2/3 vote in favor. It is a 2/3 vote in favor. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to approve certain amendments to the zoning bylaw affecting sections 4.1.5.41, firearms/explosive sales and services, within the table of principal uses as set forth in the article, or take any other action in relation thereto. Comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote. It requires a 2/3 vote. Would anyone like to discuss Article 20? You may speak.
Thank you. Before I speak, is there still a quorum here?
We've already started the article.
Okay.
Would you state your name and your address, please?
Brian Kamenker, 95 University Avenue. This is basically about banning gun shops in the business districts of Westwood. I don't know where the word explosives comes from. And so the question is why after all these years is there a sudden push to ban gun shops in the business districts? The Finance and Warrant Commission, according to the book here, was divided on this. The majority said that the reason that they wanted to do it was to preserve the small-town character of these districts. But, let's talk about what I think is really going on here. If you look at the Westwood Police website over the last year and a half, there seems to have been a surge in applications for gun licenses by Westwood residents. I know not too long ago there was a 3 to 4 month period just to come in and file an application. Now, if you look today, there's about a month wait just to go in and file an application. Legal gun orders tend to be law-abiding and stable people. You have to in order to get a gun license. But, when the planners talk about the downtown area having a certain charm and character, I think what they're really talking about is that gun owners tend to be working-class people. You don't want that kind of, riffraff in our charming business district. It's okay to have a lot of these people mowing our lawns and fixing our houses, but we don't want them to ruin the ambience of our town. Many of them can't come here tonight because they're working their regular jobs. And, another problem, just to be honest, is a lot of these owners tend to be Republicans. You don't want a bunch of Trump bumper stickers in our charming, diverse downtown areas. And, watching the public hearings and watching what goes, to me, that's what this was really all about. because there's actually no other reason. There are gun shops all over Massachusetts. There are never any problems with gun shops. So that's, no legal problems. They tend to be very stable businesses. So that's not what this is all about. I think it's about who they attract. And I think it's very shameful. So thank you very much.
Hi there, Kate Wynn, 10 Cedar Hill Drive, and a newly elected member of the Planning Board. Yay. So I did just want to mention, I was also a member of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, and I worked on the town centers portion of that plan specifically. And over the 2 years that that group did its work and reached out to residents to see what they would like our town centers to be like and to have and to offer residents, there was not a single comment, and I worked on the town centers portion, where any of our residents said they would like to be able to buy a gun in our town centers, nor did they say that they would like to watch someone else buy a gun in our town centers. So I appreciate there are lots of other concerns, but when it comes to questioning what people want, that is not what they want, and they could have put anything in there. So I would encourage us to follow FinCom's suggestion.
Ms. Schwartz, are you going to speak? And then, I'm sorry, woman in the purple, do you wish to speak? I have trouble seeing, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Maria Costantini, and I live at 15 Spelman Road. First, I want to commend the Planning Board for being proactive in presenting this article to us. And second, I also want to acknowledge the FinCom for providing both points of view on this article. I feel, of course, that I am voting in favor of this article because the two districts, business districts that are involved here are Islington and Route 109. Islington is near a playground. People walk around. It's not like the kind of people who are coming to buy guns, but it's really the message that that is given, and potentially there could be also dangers. The other district is Route 109. There is a middle school there. There's a high school. Again, people walking around. They are like our little, in a town that is sprawling like Westwood. There's a place where people meet to sit outside and to go about, shopping, etc. I'm surprised that the gentleman who just spoke didn't have any concerns about putting people with substance abuse at the end of town in a totally isolated area while he wants gun shops all over town. I don't know. I guess different principles and different priorities. So I feel like really this article is proactive because another thing I would like to mention is one of the objections for the people of the FinCom who voted against the article was that, things have been fine for so many years, why make a change? Well, we make changes all the time because we learn and we evolve. The town is not, if we hadn't made changes, our town would be like it was 50 years ago. We have found that other towns were caught by surprise by some of these requests for permits for the stores. So I think this is like, it says we don't ban stores, of course we can't, but we would like to preserve these areas for kids and for parents and just to be not having to worry about guns.
The woman in microphone 2.
Hi, I'm Jamie Allen, 530 Pond Street. Again, I've lived here 28 years. I have a question. Is there any empirical data that gun shops have caused harm or injury or loss of liberty or property? This question is for the planning board.
If you wish to, you don't have to if you don't want, David. Okay, apparently they don't have any empirical data.
That is because there is no empirical data in the United States of America that shows that gun shops cause harm or injury or loss of liberty or property. So this is like the Minority Report. We're guilty of a future crime that has not been committed. Gun shops are being targeted as a business you don't want in town, or you want to limit it based on crimes that have not been committed. And I'll say the last speaker appealed a lot to fear. I would like to encourage everyone to think more along the lines of our Constitution. Okay, first off, the role of the government is not to isolate specific businesses and also not to inject themselves in the role of commerce and free market. So I'm not just speaking against the Second Amendment, I'm speaking against free commerce. For a moment, the word explosives, that is interjected, that's thinly veiled fear porn. Okay, I believe that this is very subjective and agenda-driven. I think every Westwood business owner should be concerned because someone on the planning board may wake up one morning on a whim, say they're vegans. They don't want meat sold in Westwood. So now they're going to target any of the stores that sell meat. And of course, they'll include no meat or pig heads, something, you know, to you'll feel upset about. It could be anti-straws, anti-hairdressing. How many women here suffered this past year not having their hairdressing business open? Well, imagine that on a whim, hairdressing shops are targeted. Okay, the way business plans are written, they have a vision, they look for a vacuum. If there is a market for gun shops, for ammunition, it will draw people from other towns who will come, a grandfather with his grandson. Afterwards, they'll go to the grocery store, they'll go and have breakfast.
Ms. Allen, you're getting close to your 5 minutes.
Okay. I just want to say that we need to leave this to the true free market and not give way to fear, but look at facts and follow our Constitution. Thank you.
Ms. Schwartz, did you wish to speak? And they said we couldn't have fireworks this year.
I'd like to say an awful lot to this. And one of the things I'd like to ask is, I heard somebody just speaking about the free market. If I wanted to open a brothel, that would be free market? But I assumed that everyone would object to that. You know, I went to college in northern New Hampshire. I've got nothing against guns. Everyone in New Hampshire has guns. More guns than people. But yeah, there is anecdotal evidence to prove that people who buy guns then go out and shoot people. This has happened in several recent cases where somebody goes out, buys a gun, and just goes, boom, goes into a school and goes, boom. Having a gun shop in town is just not a really good idea. And having a brothel in town isn't a good idea.
We got another woman who wishes to speak.
Hi, Claire Galkowski, 320 Dover Road. I'll be quick. We restrict the locations that marijuana dispensaries can be located. That is a legal thing, a legal enterprise, but people in town are not comfortable having it in the main business districts, so it was voted to put it to the edge of town. We just voted to push our disabled people suffering from substance abuse disorder to the edge of town, even though that is something that really impacts a lot of people as well as their families. I think it's perfectly appropriate to restrict where this type of an enterprise can be located. You're not banning it, you're just restricting it. So I hope everybody will vote for this measure. Thank you.
All right, are we ready to vote? This requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 20, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a 2/3 vote in favor. It is a 2/3 vote in favor. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to approve certain amendments to the zoning bylaw affecting Section 4.1.7.4 within the table of principal uses as set forth in the article, or take any other action in relation thereto. Anyone like to discuss Article 21? All in favor of Article 21, I'm sorry, this comes before us. It requires a 2/3 vote on the recommendation of FinCom. All in favor of Article 21, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. We have just one more to go. I see people leaving. Don't forget to leave your devices at the back. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to approve certain housekeeping amendments to various sections of the Westwood zoning bylaw and official zoning map, as may be necessary to correct any errors or inconsistencies and/or to clarify sections, including the listed specific corrections in the article and any others that may be discovered prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, or take any other action in relation thereto, comes before us on the recommendation of FinCom that the town so vote, requires a 2/3 vote. Any discussion on Article 22? All in favor of Article 22, say aye. All opposed, say nay. It appears to be a unanimous vote in favor. It is a unanimous vote in favor. I'd like to, again, thank the FinCom for all the work they did this year. I'd like to thank Ruby and Billy and Sean for cleaning the mics. I'd like to thank the National Honor Society students in the back. They certainly got a workout tonight. You didn't see them, but they've been running around like crazy. Is there a motion to dissolve town meeting? Pardon me? Not adjourn, dissolve. Is there a motion to dissolve? Is there a second? All in favor of dissolving town meeting, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Town meeting is dissolved. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.